Okay.
Right. So for instance, like everybody's interested in short-term rentals right now.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, so you should be focusing on like, you know, something where you could wholesale it to somebody for them to have it as a short-term rental. And it shouldn't, in that short-term rental, you don't want it to have a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. And you can look in like vacation areas. Like I know you're in Dallas now. So like, you know, is there any areas that you could be in? Dallas is like also like the fastest growing place. I mean, it is not a place to be investing in real estate right now. You know, it's really hard to find good deals in Dallas. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the country.
It is. But you know, they have pockets here, you know, of areas where you can possibly get some properties to wholesale. There could be short-term rentals.
You should be thinking more for Dallas tertiary market. And this is exactly for Austin as well too. You have to find tertiary markets. Okay. What's a tertiary market?
So are those markets that are not necessarily within immediately in Dallas?
Yeah. So you have like you have primary, and then you have secondary, and then you have tertiary.
Okay.
This is actually from the commercial side because I'm a commercial investor, right? But you want primary is going to be like Dallas, Fort Worth is a primary market. I mean, you can't get anything for, you know, super, you know, for cheap anymore, right? And so this would be Dallas. This is LA, right? This is Raleigh. This is like Raleigh area, right? And then you have the secondary markets, which is all of the suburbs that are surrounding all those areas, right? This is secondary market, right? And I don't know y'all suburbs or whatever, but like, you know, I'm talking about the burbs.
Right? Well, like McKinney. Actually, I live in McKinney, which is in the suburbs of Dallas.
It's a suburb of Dallas, exactly. You're like north of Dallas, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of, because I've been kind of like, I have a student that lives in Dallas and is focusing on Lufkin.
Who? Oh, Lufkin. Okay,
that's what I'm talking about. That's a tertiary market. All right, so tertiary markets are like outside of the secondary markets, right? And so that is where I think people like us, you know, need to be focusing right now. You can get, my students are getting awesome deals right now in the tertiary markets. Tertiary markets, and this is all based on population. Right now in Georgia, you have essentially Atlanta, and then you have like all the suburbs of Atlanta, right? And then outside of Atlanta, I mean, essentially Georgia is like 80% tertiary market. Okay, because you only have like Atlanta, then you have Augusta, which has like maybe 75,000 people or something like this, or 100,000 people. Columbus has like maybe a couple 100,000. Savannah is like a bigger town, but Savannah is also not very big. I mean, it's like it has a little tiny primary area, a bigger secondary area, and then like all of Georgia is considered like tertiary market. And so I do, all of my deals are all in tertiary markets right now because that's all I can afford. You know, I can come up with couples of hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, right? And so y'all should think about the market in terms of where are the tertiary, especially if you're living in like big cities that are just going nuts with, you know, real estate, which is basically everywhere, right? Except for smaller cities like Lufkin, or like I'm buying right now a storage facility in a town in Georgia called Americus, Georgia. It has like 15,000 people in it. And it sounds like a small town, but like it's really not that big of a town. I lived in Peachtree City, Georgia, which is in like a secondary market. It has 30,000 people in it. Like all these burbs, the burbs are usually going to be like 30, 40, 50,000 people, anywhere from 20 to 50,000 people of a major city. So what I'm saying is consider, and this is what I tell my students, consider population as one of the key indicators of where you decide where you want to invest. And look at populations of towns and cities in your area that are like maybe 20,000 or less. and focus on those. And I'm telling you, they are growing at phenomenal rates right now, right? Because all these people from Dallas are moving outside of Dallas, not into secondary markets, because all these secondary markets are all moving to tertiary markets. You know what I'm saying? People are moving out of the big cities now because you can be so virtual. So consider towns that are, anywhere from 10 to 30,000 people. Has anybody ever looked, like, pull up your state, the state that you live in, right? And then search population, population by city in California or North Carolina, or Judy, where are you at? In Ohio. And Ohio, pull up like population of where you're at, and then start looking at the population, the towns. I mean, you're going to surprise yourself with cities that you've never even heard of that are between 20 and 50,000 population, or whatever it is for your area that would be considered. I could go into a secondary market in Georgia, because secondary markets are really not that big. Austin could not go into a secondary market because secondary markets are probably hundreds of thousands of people, and the bigger cities are, huge or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like, he's going to have to be in a tertiary market. So my suggestion is to pull up population by city, put them in the order of from smallest to greatest number, and then search those populations that are between 20 and 50,000 and see if any of those cities are anywhere near you. Now, does it have to be near you? No, right? And you could do this for any state. If you don't want to be in California and you want to go to Nevada or Arizona or Oregon or Idaho or wherever you want to go, Austin, right? But you organize it by population number, like the number, and then you start really researching the 20,000 to 50,000, or or if you want to be in secondary markets, do 50 to 100,000, and kind of just see and feel out, how is the population of your town, of your state looking, or your area looking, and where are those towns that nobody's focusing in right now in your area? Because I'm going to tell you, they are. Tyler, Texas. Somebody just picked up a Tyler, Texas in my group. Somebody picked up a Lufkin, Texas. People are just, we're in either secondary or tertiary markets, and mostly tertiary markets right now is where we're at, is what we can afford. And I'm like, I picked up a storage facility in Valdosta, Georgia. And Valdosta is a small town. I think it's like, I don't know. And if anybody wants to search this, I can't remember. It's like 50,000 people or 60,000 people, something like this. So
what was the name of the town?
Valdosta, Georgia.
My nephew goes to school there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's got a great university. It's a small town, but I'm telling you, that town, there is so much new construction going on in that town. Everywhere you go, houses are being built, because you can build in that town. You can build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath and sell it for 120 to 50 grand. Right? Whereas like, you cannot do that in Atlanta at all. You can't do that, those numbers. You know what I'm saying? Houses are going for, when we talk about affordable housing, and you've got to take this into consideration when you try to figure out where you want to focus your energy at in any type of niche that you get into. It's like, where is the affordable housing at right now? Right? Where are people able to afford houses? Definitely not in Atlanta. Definitely not in LA. Raleigh, I don't know, but I'm guessing probably not. Definitely not. It's hard to find houses that are like $200,000 to $250,000. I live in Jasper. It's a town of 6,000 people. And houses are selling 1,400 square foot houses are starting at like 300 grand. It's like crazy. Now this is like super popular area, like north of Atlanta. But when you get away from the Atlanta area and you start looking at these little towns that are like, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, depending on like where you're located, you will find some like golden nuggets, right? And you can look and see like what the trends are of people of migration, patterns. Like over the last couple of years, is it decreasing in population or increasing or just like staying the same? Right. So like Americus, Georgia, like is where we're buying a storage facility. Like Americus, Georgia has been like, for the last 10 years, there's been like 15,000 people. Like it's not growing and it's like a very stable city, you know? And, you know, so there's no like, and I like that because especially in storage, like you just want it to be like, you know, stable.
I mean, do you recommend still targeting residential or looking at something else as far as a better opportunity to wholesale?
I'm talking about, this is tertiary markets you could do anything in.
Okay.
Basically, you could do anything right now. Secondary, you know, tertiary markets, you can get out there. You can still find good multifamily deals in tertiary markets. Just nobody wants to go to tertiary markets. You know what I'm saying? But like you can find good deals in tertiary markets. You can find okay deals in secondary markets. You can't find really any good deals in any primary markets right now. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm running numbers for my students. Like, you know, I had a student that just, you know, called me up. It's a fourplex for $350,000. It makes $1,000 it takes $1,000 per unit per month, right? So it was a $350,000, $350,000 fourplex. We can run the numbers. I'll show you that. It makes $1,000 a month times 4. So it's $4,000 a year. It's an okay deal. I'm going to tell you, it's an okay deal. It's in a secondary market. It's a secondary market. It's a suburb of Atlanta. Okay, so it's $4,000. So basically what I would do when I get a deal like this is I would take my phone, because like I don't, you know, I just make everything easy. I have on my phone, I gotta take my glasses off, a cap rate calculator, right? Because we're doing like multifamily, so you want to do cap rate, right? And it's just, all it is a cap rate calculator app. It looks like this, okay? And it's got purchase price, gross rental income, vacancy rate, and operating expenses. So you need to know purchase price, income, annual, vacancy rate, percentage, and expenses, annual expenses. Okay. So purchase price, we already know, 350 grand. And then the income is 48 grand, right? We know that. I'm just doing it into the cap rate calculator. Everybody should have a cap rate calculator on your phone, right? Okay. Whether or not you know what cap rate is, just put it on your phone.
Okay.
Because guess what? At the bottom of this thing, it tells you what cap rate is. Cap rate is the net operating income divided by the purchase price. It has it right here. It has the little formulas and everything for you. So you can kind of start, you know, learning about it that way as well too. But like, you know, you can always just plug the numbers in. And so I have the vacancy rate. I just have it as 8%. I mean, it's full, but you know, you want to give yourself some like, you know, contingency and stuff or whatever.
Is 8% what you typically use for that number when running?
You know, anywhere from 3 to 8%, depending on what you want to do. It's a fourplex, so I would kind of lean higher than lower. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, if it's just a rental and you want to know the cap, and you can calculate cap rates on rentals. You know, all it is just purchase price, income, vacancy rate, and annual expenses, right? I was talking to one of my realtor friends, and no offense to realtors, you know, but one of my best friends in Atlanta, and she's like, I mean, not in Atlanta, I'm sorry, in Austin, because we were looking. I've been looking to buy in Austin for like 3 years, because I'm originally from Austin. I grew up in Austin, and I want to move back, but like I've been looking for years. And like, she's saying that she's a realtor. She's representing people that want to come in and invest in Atlanta. And they would go out and buy like $250,000, $300,000 houses and make like $400 a month for me, you know, for me. And that was like net, like 400. And I just thought that was mind boggling, honestly. You know, it's like you could come at that point, you could have came to Atlanta and bought 5 houses and made $400 a month on those. I told her that, you know, and I'd run the cap rate. Say, like, you can't, like, that's like a, you know, it's like 6 cap. Who's going to do that? But people were doing it, you know. So anyways, purchase price, annual income, vacancy rate, annual expenses. Annual expenses are, depending on how big your property is, you calculate on average 30 to 35%. Now, if you have super huge, big multifamilies and stuff, they'll probably go up to 40%. But we just find something like, we little people, we can buy some little houses, right? So 30 to 35%. So you just calculate of the annual income, I always just calculate 30% of the annual income is what I do. All right, so 40, what's 30%? That's $12,000, right? Let's put 12,000. It's going to cost you $12,000 a year to have this $350,000 property that you're making $48,000 on. Basically is what it is, okay? So then you calculate that, that's a 9% cap rate. That's a 9% cap rate. All right, that's a good cap rate for a small multifamily. All right, has anybody done Yukiko, her training yet? Because she's doing multifamily now. If you want to learn, she owns like a ridiculous amount. She's gonna be all quiet about it, but she owns like a ridiculous amount of houses. I think like 300. Like 300. Yeah, isn't that awesome? I like the best teachers. Okay, so primary is going to be anywhere on the cap rate. On your cap rates, right? Primary is going to be 4 to maybe 7%, depending on where you're at, right? And this is like all multifamily commercial. So multifamily primary, downtown Atlanta could go 4, 5, 6%. Before, I mean, I know people that are like, I have Joe James. Did you guys see Joe James the other day? He did the deal analyzer. If y'all missed that, y'all need to go back and watch that. But because he is like probably one of the smartest people in the real estate industry. This guy is amazing, and he buys large multifamily is what he does. But he was teaching how to analyze deals. He's going to do multifamily, and then he's going to do rehabbing, and then he's going to do rentals, and he's going to teach how to analyze those. It's a 3-part series, so he's not like a real teacher, but he's just going to come in and she's like special guest teacher. I convinced him to come be special guest teacher. Anyway, so cap rate for primary is 4 to 7. He just picked up 2 multifamilies, like 150 to 200 doors. And he said he paid no more than 6%, between 5 and 6%. And I can't remember where he bought them, but they were like maybe Kentucky or something. I'm not sure. Secondary cap rates are like 7 to 9%. 7 to 9. Okay. And then tertiary would be like maybe 8 plus. Okay. And you might do, I mean, there might be a 6 in here, but honestly, I wouldn't do 6% for a secondary market. But in some really high, like New York, maybe, or LA, you're going to be like, these huge, big primary markets are going to be on the lower side. When you're in a primary market and it's Savannah, you're most likely you're going to be on the higher side of the primary number. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the more people that live there, then the higher, I mean, the lower the cap rate's going to be. Okay.
Is Savannah considered a secondary market?
So the way that cities work is like if it's a larger city, there's always a primary market, which is like the downtown area. So you could go like downtown Savannah and you're going to see like huge big apartments and big buildings and all this kind of stuff. That'd be like a primary area. And then maybe the outskirts of Savannah could be a secondary area, but it could be primary too, you know. It all depends on like, you know, what you want to pay for the deal. Some people are like, no, I'm not going to pay, like, I'm not going to do that for a primary. I'm going to pay that much, right? But some people are like, everybody's risk level is different. You know what I'm saying? So like, so when you run these numbers on this $350,000 deal, it's coming out to a 9% cap rate. Did y'all all get this when y'all ran that number? Did anybody run it?
I did not.
Nobody's running my numbers. Okay, so on the cap rate calculator, you see how I put it? It's I have purchase price, annual income, vacancy rate, and expenses. That's it. 4 things is what you need. Plug it in, and it came out to 9.89% cap rate. All right. So when you say, okay, great, 9% cap rate, what the hell does that mean, right? So now you kind of have an idea about primary, secondary, and tertiary markets, and you can easily run your numbers and see if it's a good deal that way. You know what I'm saying? So now you know, like, if it's a primary market versus secondary or tertiary, what the cap rate should be. Is it a good deal? So obviously this is a secondary market. It's in a suburb of Atlanta. It's a secondary market, and it's a 9% cap rate. That's a good cap rate on a secondary market. So like I said, it's a good deal. It's a great deal. So I told her, I was like, do it. I was like, I could definitely get higher cap rates in this side of, over here, but now when I talk about cap rates, this is not like a big deal, but hedge funds are going to be like in this area, the lower the cap rate, the better. Right. But us little people, we're in secondary and tertiary markets. You want to get that. You want to get your cap rate as high as you possibly can and sell it for as low as you possibly can. Okay. That's basically the purpose of the cap rate. And and then the question is, what is the appraiser going to use for the cap rate? Because the appraiser is going to run a cap rate, right? The cap rate is going to be probably in the primary market around 6%, secondary about 8%, and tertiary about 10%, or something like this. Or maybe even tertiary between 8 and 10%, maybe 9%. If it's in the middle of nowhere, and you have if you have I looked at one property where it was like a 6 cap in a town of like 5,000 people. I was like, no lender is going to lend on this. No lender is going to lend on this. You're never going to sell this property. And guess what? He never sold it, So I see Christina saying, looking to partner on properties in outskirts regions of Eastern Washington State. If anyone says cash buyers lined up. Okay. You should post that into the private Facebook group. You know what I'm saying? Post that into the private Facebook group as well, too. Make sure you're taking advantage of everybody that's in the private Facebook group. Everybody's there. They may not be posting, but they're all watching all the feed and stuff. So if you post something out and it triggers them, they'll answer. Okay. Okay. So now you kind of have an idea. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Whether or not you understand cap rate is not a big deal. The question is, most of the good deals that we're going to be able to find right now are going to be in secondary and tertiary markets. It's very hard to find deals in primary markets right now. I have investor friends that have been doing this since I started in 2010, and they're struggling to find deals. They're struggling to find deals. If they're struggling to find deals, you're definitely going to struggle to find deals. So don't be in the areas where all these investors who know what they're going to be doing, who know what they're doing. Get out of those areas and get into the areas where some investors are like, I don't want to be there because it's a tertiary market. I want to be where the hot markets are or whatever, right? But the truth of the matter is that, first of all, number one, everybody's got to live somewhere, right? Everybody's got to live somewhere, right? And number two, where are the affordable houses at? Where are those? Because I'm going to tell you, in the next year, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening, right? And, it's going to be all about the price range of your house. So right now people are bidding up, and it's in Atlanta. Tell me how it is in your market. In Atlanta, it's hard to sell houses that are over like 350 plus. If you're 350 or less, it's going off the, it's like crazy. But if it's 350 plus, people are having a really hard time because, number one, the lenders are not lending on these deals. FHA, the appraisals are not even going through, are you not even working? So you have to have conventional. A lot of people can't put 20% down. You know what I'm saying? So now the question is, FHA is more focused towards affordable housing and getting people into their first home. Where can you get people into their first home if they can only afford, $1,000 to $1,500 a month? That's the question. Where around you is that? And that's where you should be focusing, which brings me back to the populations. Look at the populations of the towns, because if you go towards the smaller populations, you'll be able to find the affordable housing that people are going to want to buy over the next year or two. What do you think? Let me see. Let me put everybody else on that's here allowed to talk, and then y'all can unmute yourself. Does that make sense to y'all? Y'all lost?
Absolutely.
Boston's good?
Yes. Making sense. Yep.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, good. Now, so now that we know, now we have an idea. Do you guys have any idea near you which areas you want to be focusing on? Even like now that you kind of have an idea, can you think of any areas near you that you're like, you know what, I never thought about it, but I should focus on it. That's like my student that lives in Dallas. He's like, I never thought about it, but I should focus on Lufkin, and that's where he found his facility. Was like in that area. And then now all of it, he got one under contract. And now all of a sudden, like 3 weeks later, he got another one under contract because it started to click where he should be focusing on the market. Y'all have any suggestions for that? Any ideas now thinking? Anybody want to say something? Crescentia?
Thinking, not.
Where are you
don't
at?
have one. I'm in Durham. North Carolina, next to Raleigh, next to Fairview. So I'm kind of next to some good areas, but I didn't think about like zooming in on one particular, kind of like been what you want to call like hot jumping, like over here and over there, not in one particular area.
That's called farming in the world, right? You need to learn how to farm an area.
Okay.
And that's what I did. Okay. So when I was rehabbing, right, back in the day,